What if the person who was supposed to love you the most was the one who destroyed you the deepest? Growing up, you weren't nurtured, you were manipulated, your emotions weren't valued, they were weaponized. Your childhood wasn't a safe haven, it was a battlefield. The dark truth: being raised by a narcissist doesn't just shape your past, it haunts your present and threatens your future. But here's the real question: will you stay trapped in their twisted reality, or will you break free and reclaim your life? Let's expose the truth, unravel the damage, and start the journey to healing right now. Now, before I delve into the video proper, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Iyabo Oyawale, and I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor. And on this channel, I share narcissistic abuse recovery tips, and I constantly say that healing is possible because I'm a living proof that you can heal from narcissistic abuse and get to the other side, just as I am doing, just as I have done. And if you're serious about healing from narcissistic abuse and emotional trauma, you're going to hit the subscribe button right away in order to be notified of our new uploads as well as our new live streams. And also turn on notifications right after subscribing. I'm waiting for you to do just that. If you just did that, I want to congratulate you and warmly welcome you to the Iyabo community, where we support one another through the mess, I call it the mess, of narcissistic abuse and emotional trauma. Having said that, let me delve into the video proper. So what's the dark truth about being raised by a narcissist? What's the dark truth about being raised by a narcissist? Now, being raised by a narcissist is a deeply painful and confusing experience. It affects every part of your life. It affects your self-worth, it affects your relationships, and it affects your emotional stability and even your physical health. Unlike healthy parenting, where love and support are unconditional, narcissistic parenting is filled with manipulation, emotional neglect, and control. This video will expose the dark truths about growing up with a narcissistic parent, how it impacts you, and how you can heal. The narcissistic parents and how they operate, who are they and how they operate. Now, narcissistic parents often exhibit these traits. They have a grandiose sense of self-importance and over-bloated self-ego, and then they lack empathy for their child's feelings and needs. They also have a deep need for control, admiration, and validation, and they also have an extreme sensitivity to criticism and manipulative behaviors such as gaslighting, guilt tripping, and emotional blackmail. Now, there are different types of narcissistic parents, and there is the grandiose narcissist who is overly confident, boastful, and always seeking admiration. And then there is a vulnerable, covert narcissist who plays the victim, manipulates through guilt, and acts helpless but is dangerous, a snake under the grass. And there is the malignant narcissist who is cruel, controlling, and enjoys emotionally harming their children. Now, how do they treat their children? How do they treat their children? Emotional neglect, that's the first thing that happens in a narcissistic parenting style. Emotional neglect, where your feelings are dismissed or ridiculed. Your feelings are never ever validated, and that happened to me. I was never ever validated, never ever. And in fact, let me say something before I delve deeper, is that narcissistic parenting sets us up for narcissistic partners. Let me repeat that. Narcissistic parenting sets us up for narcissistic partners. And so if we don't heal from narcissistic abuse, we end up landing in the arms of narcissistic partners. And so please note that if you notice these signs and you are not yet in the arms of a narcissistic partner, it is time for you to heal in order for you not to attract a narcissistic partner. And so there is emotional neglect in narcissistic parenting, where your feelings are dismissed and ridiculed, and then there is conditional love, because narcissistic parents only show affection when you meet their needs. And then there is excessive criticism, where nothing you did was ever good enough. You are never good enough. Nothing you do is ever good enough. And then there is parental alienation, where they turn you against the other parent or siblings. And then there's triangulation, where they played family members against each other. And then there is gaslighting, where they twisted reality to make you question yourself, to make you doubt your reality. And so these are all signs that you see in narcissistic parenting. These are the way that narcissistic parents treat their children. Now, what is the psychological damage of narcissistic parenting? How does narcissistic parenting affect us psychologically? Now, growing up under a narcissist rule can deeply impact your mental and emotional health. Number one, there is low self-esteem and self-doubt. You were constantly criticized or ignored, making you feel like you were never good enough. And so even as an adult, you may struggle with self-worth and constantly seek validation from others. That was my case. That was my story. That was my story. It was, because that's in the past. I no longer seek validation from people. I seek validation from within. I seek validation from my God. And I am working on my self-worth issues. But one of the damages psychologically of narcissistic parenting is low self-esteem and self-doubt. The second is people-pleasing and codependency. Now, because love was conditional, you learn to suppress your needs to keep others happy. You may find yourself in one-sided relationships, tolerating mistreatment just to feel accepted. Now, the third psychological damage of narcissistic parenting is the fear of abandonment. Your parents used love as a tool of control, making you fear rejection. And so you may tolerate toxic relationships just to avoid being alone. And then there is the fourth psychological damage of narcissistic parenting is emotional dysregulation and anxiety. You may struggle with overreacting or shutting down emotionally because your parent never allowed you to express your emotions freely. You were always shut down, and so you now suffer from emotional dysregulation and anxiety, where you struggle with overreacting or shutting down emotionally. Now there is also trust issues and difficulty in relationships. Narcissistic parents lie, they manipulate, and they betray. As a result, you may have trouble trusting people, always expecting them to hurt you. You always expect people to hurt you because you were hurt by the people who were supposed to love you the most. It's a very dicey situation, I tell you, and it's confusing and very painful. And there is also chronic guilt and shame as one of the psychological damages of narcissistic parenting. Your parent made you feel like you were always the problem, and even as an adult you might feel guilty for setting boundaries or putting yourself first. And so there's chronic guilt and shame. So how do narcissistic parents keep you trapped? It's a dark cycle. How narcissistic parents keep you trapped. Now, narcissistic parents ensure that their children never break free by using psychological tactics to maintain control. And so they use guilt and obligation. They constantly remind you of how much they sacrificed, in quotes, sacrificed for you, making you feel guilty for wanting independence. And so there is guilt and obligation as a way of keeping you trapped. And then there is smear campaigns. If you try to leave or set boundaries, they turn family and friends against you, making you look like the bad child, in quotes, bad child, in quotes. And so they don't want you to be independent. They want you constantly under their control. And then there's also financial manipulation. That's another way they keep you trapped. They may refuse to teach you financial independence or sabotage your career, keeping you dependent on them financially. This is another way that they keep you trapped. Another way that they keep you trapped is through trauma bonding. They switch between kindness and cruelty, keeping you emotionally confused and attached to them. And so there's trauma bonding as a way to keep you trapped in the dark cycle of narcissistic parenting. So how do you break free? How do you heal from narcissistic parenting? How do you heal from narcissistic abuse? Acknowledge the truth. That is the first thing. You must accept that your parent was narcissistic and that their behavior was not your fault. Their behavior was not your fault. It is theirs to keep. It is theirs to sort out. That is none of your business. And so acknowledge the truth. One problem we have is we deny we live in denial, and that doesn't help us. And so acknowledge the truth that my parent was narcissistic and their behavior was not my fault. And then secondly, go no contact or set firm boundaries. If possible, cut off contact to protect your mental health. But if you must stay in touch, set firm boundaries and limit conversations. Very important. And so go no contact or set firm boundaries, and then also seek therapy or counseling. Very important, because a therapy, especially one that specializes in narcissistic abuse recovery, can help you process your trauma, can help you understand what you've been through. And also don't forget therapy with the Holy Spirit. I'm constantly talking about it because it was what helped me. I also suffered from narcissistic parenting, and therapy with the Holy Spirit helped me sort out my thoughts, helped me sort out my emotions. And also the third thing to do, aside from seeking therapy and going no contact, is rebuild your self-worth. Challenge the negative beliefs they instilled in you. Surround yourself with supportive, loving people, and engage in self-care and activities that bring you joy. Do things that spark your joy, that ignite your bliss. Do things that light up your soul. And surround yourself with people who get you, people who will understand you, and challenge the negative beliefs they instilled in you, because what they told you is not the absolute truth. The Bible contains the absolute truth, and so use the Bible to counter their lies that they have instilled in you over the years. And so the next thing to do to heal from narcissistic parenting is to heal your inner child. Write letters to your younger self affirming that they were always worthy of love, and also engage in hobbies and activities you were denied as a child. Do things that you were denied from as a child, and then practice self-compassion and treat yourself with kindness. Talk to yourself the way your bestie will talk to you. Be compassionate, be kind to yourself, be your greatest ally, be your greatest cheerleader. It matters. And also educate yourself on narcissistic abuse. Read books, watch videos, and connect with support groups to understand and validate your experiences. But above all, go to God to validate you, because I tell you, the validation you can get from God, you cannot get from anywhere else, because God understands us and He is interested in the minutest things that concern us, and He is interested in your matter. And so go to Him and ask Him to help you through your situation. And let me say that educating yourself on narcissistic abuse is very important, because that was what helped me really, because there wasn't anybody around me who understood narcissistic abuse. There wasn't anybody around me who could tell me about it. But when I realized that was what I was dealing with, I started watching videos, I started reading blogs, I started reading books, I started listening to podcasts. I think I listened to quite a few podcasts, and so I basically put myself in a situation where I could learn more about what I was dealing with, and I will know what to do about it. And so don't joke with education when it comes to narcissistic abuse or narcissistic parenting. And this is a shameless plug. I'm not shameless. I do not feel shame for making it. And that plug is that watch Oyawale videos from beginning to the end. In fact, if you can stream an narcissistic abuse playlist, I tell you, you are in good company, because we got loads of videos in that playlist that will educate you on the subject of narcissistic abuse. And so don't joke with this subject. I'll put the link to the playlist in the description so you can go and stream it entirely. I tell you, you are going to do yourself a favor by streaming our narcissistic abuse playlist. Now, being raised by a narcissistic parent is a painful experience. I tell you, it is painful, because the person that was supposed to love you the most, the person that was supposed to protect you the most, is the one hurting and harming you. But you are not broken. You were simply conditioned to believe you were. And so healing is possible. I keep saying that because I'm a living proof that healing is possible. And by breaking free from their influence, you can reclaim your power, confidence, and happiness. So what tip or idea struck you the most in this video? Do let me know in the comments, and also share this video with a friend. Be the reason why someone escapes from the mess of narcissistic abuse and emotional trauma. And also like this video, because when you do, you are telling YouTube the kind of videos to serve you, the kind of videos to suggest to you. And also go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because I tell you, you are in good company on the Oyawale YouTube. you are in good company here, because we are all trudging on the way to success when it comes to narcissistic abuse and emotional trauma. And so hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to be notified when we got new live streams and new uploads. Thanks for doing that if you just did that, and also thanks for watching this video. I so much appreciate the time you have invested in watching this video, and I want to say I love you. I love you from the bottom of my heart, and I want the best for you. And that is why I go all out to make these videos to educate you and empower you in your fight against narcissistic abuse and emotional trauma. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much.